I'm sure you've had bad stretches of training, times when things were not going, the way you had hoped or planned. What are and speaking from the putting ourselves in the younger athletes' shoes who probably experiences that as well and doesn't quite they're seeing it for the first time where, hey, maybe I'm just not seeing the splits that I'm accustomed to seeing, and I just don't feel it this day, or my sleep schedule's all messed up, I can't catch a rhythm, and all of a sudden it snowballs. That's relevant even for people who are an Olympian going on, trying to be a part of two. Like, describe that for me in terms of like, what are some things in your experience that, in terms of like when I've gone through, just tough stretches of training,
Yeah.
these are some of the things that have helped me.
Yeah. Yeah, you are so right. There have been some really tough years that make you question if you're good enough, make you question if you can achieve the goal you've been dreaming about for so long, make you question if there's any way you will ever be able to kind of like right the ship and get back on top or get in the varsity eight or get into the college of your dreams. Um, my biggest advice to anyone, if you are going on any sort of rowing journey with any sort of goal, like, you have to be resilient. You have to be resilient. There are so many things that are going to pop up that are going to make it easy to quit or give up or, have all these reasons why you probably won't make it, so you shouldn't even try. Um, and in any way that you can, learning to accept that challenge, embrace that challenge, rather than sulking of like, oh, why did this happen? Or like, why is this happening to me? Or this setback hit me, it didn't hit anyone else. Like, you have to be so resilient. And that, I mean that in a couple ways. So one, being resilient, um, whether it's a tough coach or a tough situation in your personal life, being able to say, I'm going to keep going regardless. I'm going to find a way to get around this thing. I'm going to work with a new coach. I'm going to work with a new strength coach to get out of injury cycle. I'm going to figure out a sleep schedule, work with my parents, work with, whoever I can. Um, Also just being, sorry, I'm going to take a second to make sure I kind of say this right. Like, accepting things as they are, and they're not always going to seem ideal, and just allowing some space to see the situation. And it's easy to say, oh, this is awful and it's so negative, but instead just be like, okay, I can do this, I can embrace this challenge. And it was something Molly Reckford and I, my Olympic doubles partner, did. This is a long story. I listened to this podcast. We were driving down to Florida to get ready for Olympic trials, and it was all about the Stoic philosophers. And this one guy was on the story about he was practicing stoicism in the sense that, right, we're unfazed, we're undeterred by challenges along the way, just accepting things as they are. And to him, anytime some sort of challenge or negative experience presented itself, he was like, oh, this is a challenge from the Stoics. They're testing me to see if I can overcome. So Molly and I came up with this fun, I'm going to call it a game because I have a lack of a better word, but that anytime there was any sort of challenge or hardship presented, it sounds so silly, the Olympic gods were testing us. And it became this fun mindset of embracing it and proving that we were good enough to go to the Olympics and trying to win the Olympics was our goal. Instead of sulking and being mad and being negative and just kind of throwing the towel in tough situations. So little things, we had to go to the qualification regatta in Lucerne. Crazy weather meant a condensed schedule where we raced all 4 2Ks in like 36 hours. And we were like, this is the Olympic gods testing our fitness, or we'd go to practice. We were racing Olympic trials. I'm sure you've seen the famous video. Molly had a bobble, the oar flew out of her hands. We talked about like the Olympic gods were testing us to see like how stoic and controlled we could be under chaos. And it sounds silly, but that mindset of really just leaning into the headwinds that you will experience, embracing them and being ready for them because they're going to come. This is not a walk in the park, not in high school, not in college, not in the national team, not the Olympics. It is always going to present hardships. So really just starting with that, cultivating that resilience. But also for me, I think finding, staying in touch with the sport in a way that still really brings me joy helps a lot on those hard days. And like I said, I grew up doing a lot of water sports. We water skied. I grew up on a lake. I love playing in the water. And there are times when I'm out in my single, especially, I'm sure you've seen people do fun drills at Craftsbury. They do the gondola drill. You take an oar out, you row your single like it's a gondola. We'll do challenging drills, tap taps, this and that, stand in the boat. If you can, in any moment when things get really tense and frustrating, somehow recenter yourself of, I'm just here playing in boats and having fun with my teammates, it can be so grounding and allow you to just let go of like, oh my God, I didn't hit my split, or I had a bad erg, or this is that. It's like, we're honestly just, it's just such a beautiful sport. You get to learn to interact with water, to move like water, to the feeling you can have in a flow state of a boat that's running well through the cyclical like rhythm. Like, it's beautiful. And it's not easy. And I am guilty of, always losing sight of this. But the times that I can sort of reground myself with just how fun it is to play in boats, it helps all that tension melt away. But there are hardships, like especially with this training. We do train so much. We're sort of flirting with that line of overtraining, under recovered. We travel a lot in the summer season. It can very easily, like you said, snowball into, I'm not sleeping well. My career, my work is slipping. My boss is mad at me. My personal relationships are struggling. Like, boyfriend situations are struggling because we're on the road 6 months a year. Like, all these things can snowball and really bog you down and prevent you from the training adaptations you need, or the performances on race day or tests that you need. And so it takes consistent management and discipline. It takes a lot of impulse control to avoid, the situations, the partying, the late nights, whatever it is, like knowing that those situations, they really can so quickly pull you away from good, consistent, disciplined work. It's always worth it. It's always worth it when you achieve the goal, but it's certainly something along the way to really set up some systems that keep you consistent and healthy and in a good rhythm to perform, assuming that, your coach is setting you up well with a training plan and a strength program and training cycles that help you build throughout the season. Yeah. So, but failure is
No,
part of it. I think failure is absolutely part of it. So just learning to kind of pick yourself up when you hit those spots, because any sort of great endeavor, again, I know this is getting cheesy, but any sort of great endeavor, it's going to take a lot of courage and a lot of hard work. And you have to be willing to fail. You will absolutely never achieve some big goal. You will never win some big race. You will never hit a big PR on the erg if you are terrified of failing, because you will never push yourself hard enough to get there. So I think my advice for that is ground yourself with a strong enough sense of self so that if you do fail, you're still okay. You still know who you are. You still, you lived a life of your values of hard work and ethic and sportsmanship and being a good teammate. That really ground yourself in your sense of self and other areas of your life, because you have to be prepared to fail. You cannot win if you are scared to fail. So just be ready for it. It's never as bad as you think it's going to be. So, yeah.
No, that there's some gold in there that we could spend so long. So like and again, like the main reason I'm always asking, or I'm curious about that specifically with someone like yourself, like when a high school athlete looks at someone who is, again, from the outside looking in, Olympian, winning the Charles and all that, and for you to humanize, the cycles, that everyone in athletics goes through, or anyone who really is passionate about, like I always say, like it almost affects the people who are more passionate than it does the people who are just in there kind of go with the flow.
Oh, absolutely. Because you love it you care so
Yeah.
much. And the second you care about the goal, the second you love the idea of achieving the goal, like, you are setting yourself up for heartbreak, right? The second you care and you love it and you want it and all these things, you're exposing yourself to this deep vulnerability of, you might not get it. You might try. Here's the thing. Maybe I make the Paris team. Maybe I try as hard as I can and I do all these things right, and I don't make the Paris team. Or I go and we end up last. Like, these things could happen. And so that advice then is to ground yourself in the journey. And we hear that all the time. It sounds so cheesy, but it really is. If all I care about is, can I win the Olympics? Can I stand on the top step of the podium? at the, at the medal ceremony in Paris. If I don't achieve that, then all of this means nothing. But when I ground myself in, I love my teammates. They're always cheering for me. I'm cheering for them. I show up for them. They show up for me. We have a ton of fun along the way, even when we're all dead and tired and like the locker room is dead silent because everyone's so tired they can't even get words out. Those moments are so meaningful, and there's so much a part of it that as you set big goals and you work towards hard goals, make sure you're still just loving those pieces along the way. And like, not even the Olympics or the national team, but like even in high school, like how special those moments are. Like, when else in your life are you going to get to just, like hang out with your team and go to races and do mani-flicks or do this or have a great strength coach that's working with you on your biomechanics on the erg and this and that. Like, it's such a special thing. And really just trying to just see that for what it is, even when we're stressed and we want a PR and coach is mad and all that. It's like, try and really just hold on to the magic of what training for the goal is like, and not just what the goal will be if you achieve it, because happiness isn't on the other side of the goal. It's not. If you think it's there, it's not. The happiness is along the way if you can find it.